Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee, powered by Flurry Sports. It can be tough to win a fantasy league on your own, but at FFBC, we will work together to bring home the hardware. Hosted by Zach Bruner and the rest of the Flurry Sports crew, we will give top-level analysis, answer your questions, and, well, go off on other tangents.
That was after I tried to get ChatGPT to admit that 9/11 was an inside job, but it stood firm. It gave quite a few solid points that it was true.
Welcome to Fantasy Football by Committee. The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee. If you haven't already listened to the previous episode, one published right before this, we talked about the fantasy impacts of Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott signing in the AFC East, the repercussions of some of the other players on the roster, including Breece Hall, including Ramondre Stevenson. And tonight we are continuing a series that we started last time. We are building the perfect fantasy football draft around Christian McCaffrey. Everything we talk about will assume 12-team PPR scoring, and we are using the ADP from fantasy data. Then we'll be doing the mock draft on Sleeper. ADPs differ a little bit between those two, but I think they are relatively steady overall. Trevor Land, Luke Reimer are both here. I am Zach Bruner, and anything you guys want to say before we get started talking through pick by pick how we are going to form a team around Christian McCaffrey, at least through the first 8 rounds?
I guess for me, the only thing to talk about is I hope he heals up, but we need to stop acting like losing Treylon Burks is that big of a loss for Tennessee. Don't get me wrong, they'll miss him, but I think there's just been a little overreaction I feel we need to address.
I think nobody's talking about it as a loss for Tennessee. It's just fantasy football people trying to be right about their previous opinion. Like, that's all it is. Like, people just stood on such a pedestal for Treylon Burks coming out in the draft, and for him to look like the Treylon Burks we thought he was. I feel like a lot of people are upset by it, and that's why people are loud. Like, no one thinks it's an actual loss for the Titans. If you're a Titans fan, people know. People who have watched Treylon Burks play football know what he is, and we know what Christian McCaffrey is, so let's talk about him. He is probably the best running back in football if you assume everything that the running back position is capable of doing.
Yes.
And for fantasy football, that means he's getting selected second overall. He's getting selected behind Justin Jefferson, who we talked about last time we created a perfect draft. In PPR, he's going just ahead of Jamar Chase the majority of the time. Now, it's a little weird, I think, with this top 3, just because there's going to be drafts that still have the group that's going to think running backs are the most important position. Take your running back no matter what. So when that's the case, Christian McCaffrey is going to go number 1 overall. And there's some people who just don't think Christian McCaffrey is going to be steady enough given the offense, given his injury history. So those people are probably going to take Jamar Chase ahead of him. So I think you can see McCaffrey go anywhere from 1 to 3, but tonight we're going to assume pick number 2, which in 12-team leagues means 2, 23, 26 are the first 3 picks. So starting with that 23-26 turn there, if we're talking about who we should pick to form a team around Christian McCaffrey, just in terms of ADP from about 21 or from 20, I'll say down, there's Josh Allen, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Waddle, Josh Jacobs, Jalen Hurts, Ramondre Stevenson, and Devontae Smith. Those are the names I've been seeing there when I do drafts, I should say. What do you guys think of that list? Is there any guys that specifically pop out to you for who you would want to target?
Well, I would imagine a lot of people are like me this year. I am very interested in what Devontae Smith is. Right, we saw kind of an awesome year out. I shouldn't say kind of an awesome year out of him last year. And it feels like he's being justified, or that year's being justified by where he's being being drafted this year. I'm kind of in on Devontae Smith. I believe like we've talked about on this show, on past shows, like the Eagles are geared up for another Super Bowl full of weapons. Why not do the exact same thing they did last year? And if that works, I mean, I'm in on Devontae Smith. Are you guys? Am I crazy? Like, is Devontae Smith going too high here? What do you guys think?
What do you think, Trevor?
I really don't know. We've talked about him before. Like, I know it's a non-answer. I don't trust him. I don't know what it is about him. I've just never been on him. His production was there last year. He's shown his ability, so like, there's no logical reason why he shouldn't be. There's just something about him. I don't think I want him as my wide receiver one, and that's just a personal preference.
I agree. It just doesn't feel like there should be any way his role in this offense is consistent. I feel like that's my biggest thing. Last year, the Eagles were so unstoppable where there kind of was enough to go around, even when Dallas Goedert was healthy, and he was hurt a bit as well. But like going into this year, if everyone's healthy, we assume the offense is going to take some steps back just because of the coaching turnover and defense is seeing. Obviously, this was a new offense that had the most success, so let's figure out how to stop it. They should take steps back, and where does that production come from is kind of where my thought is. Yeah. And I feel like it should be Devontae Smith because I don't think it can be A.J. Brown. I don't think it can be the running back position. And I feel like Dallas Goedert has to be Dallas Goedert. So that's where my mind is. Like, that's a long way of saying I don't trust him. Yep. Like, at least as a top option, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like totally 100% agree with you guys. But then you look at last year.
Right. For sure.
Right.
Exactly. So what should weigh heavier, proven production or just a gut feeling?
Right.
That's all this is, I guess.
Isn't that what all life is?
For sure. And especially at fantasy football. Like anyone who says like, this is the guy that obviously this is going to happen. Everyone's just trying to BS their way to being right at the end of the day, not to lift the curtain, I guess. But, there's better, more intelligent opinions than others. And obviously we rank near the top. But my thing with Devontae Smith, I think in this area, like I say all that about him, I think he's right there with the rest of that wide receiver group. I just feel like they're all interchangeable, whether it's Chris Olave, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, if you go down a little bit lower. Like, I feel like they're all very good players. They're all, well, not DK, but all on they all have a role, which is big, but there's for sure going to be bad weeks with all of them.
Yeah.
But I feel like you think if you're ranking them, you would say Devontae Smith's in that top tier for you.
I think so. Like, if I'm ranking those receivers, I think I want Devontae Smith out of them.
That's fair. Like, truly, I don't think I have a strong opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and we talked about it. Recently. But that second, when you're drafting, the first couple picks are that second wraparound. That's just it feels like dog shit there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's probably a dime a dozen out of there, and whichever one hits, that person is going to maybe win a fantasy championship on it. So I think the crapshoot is picking which one is the best. Obviously, which one's the best out of those. But Zach, I'm totally with you. Like, really, they're all the exact same player.
Yeah. Speaking of the wide receivers, Trevor, going back then to that list of players in that area, are there any that pop out to you?
Not really. The wide receiver group, I don't know about you guys. It just feels weird to me this year. Obviously, usually we see tiers like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. For the wide receivers, I feel a big gap between tier 1 and tier 2. I think you have this middle ground right here with Devontae Smith guys. And I think there's a big gap after that too. Like, I think there are multiple jumps. So I look at those guys around there and I kind of put them all together. Guys that if they're my wide receiver 2, I'm over the moon. But in this term of if you take McCaffrey 1 or in the first round, I'm not real happy with them as my wide receiver 1, but you're not dead in the water either.
Maybe that's just like the evolution of fantasy football, right? We've never seen, receivers go within the first one. You don't never even considered a receiver number 1, 5, 6, even 5 years ago. And so, Trevor, that makes me think, that second tier, that maybe that's actually like the Devontae Adams and the Stephon Diggs of the world that kind of got bumped and grouped into tier 1, and that's why there's such a big drop off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think has there been a wide receiver since probably Megatron that's been this high? Like, has there been wide receivers that big since then? I don't think so.
The only argument is Antonio Brown.
Right. Last year, some people talked about it with Cooper Kupp, but not like this, obviously.
Right.
Nikki has a dynasty question.
Hey, Nikki.
Last year, sold the farm for picks, got a 4th, a 5th, and a 12th. Have Bijan at 1. I know what everyone is picking. Gibbs 2, Quentin 3, and I am taking JSN at 4. Who do I pick at 5?
The first question is, are you in desperate need of a quarterback?
That's true.
Right. Yeah, if you're in a desperate need, then you would go with one of them. But if not, I think all of us would say not quarterback, right?
No.
Correct.
Don't draft a quarterback. Or trade the pick for someone who needs a quarterback.
True. They have Burrow, so I think you're fine there. Man, it's getting harder and harder for me to pass up on Laporta. And I know it's high. It's reaching for him. I don't know what the rest of your picks are, but it's getting hard for me to pass up on an obvious thing.
I would seeing that she has the 12th. I think you can get Laporta 12. I think try to trade the 5th. Even if you just get a first round next year and just push it down the road. Like, I really love next year's draft. And if you don't have a pick at 5, somebody's going to have a pick they want. So you might as well, at least push it down the road. Like, you can't get hurt that way.
Yeah, 5th next year is more valuable than 5th this year. So if it's possible, definitely do that. If not, I guess probably Addison, or if you want like an obvious thing, I just think Laporta's a can't miss player. So with that in mind, I'm fine just taking him wherever instead of going like Zach Charbonnet or something who the fuck knows.
For me, it's roll the dice between Addison and I'll throw Zay Flowers in there.
Flowers is fine too. Yeah. Stoof, Devontae.
Stoof is back.
He is back. Devontae is number 1 in a 10-team dynasty, and he does not feel good about it. I have him as my wide receiver 2 in a dynasty, and I feel like I don't feel good about it. I truly have no idea why, though. I think I'm wrong for it. It's
totally. Like I said, it's totally understandable. I probably wouldn't feel comfortable either, but he's done it.
Correct. Nikki says Addison or Flowers. Got it. Yeah. If you need wide receiver, that's what I would do. Addison's definitely the safer pick there. If you want to go safe, if you want boom or bust, that's who Flowers is, I would say. So going back to the 2nd and 3rd round pick here after Christian McCaffrey, that wide receiver tier is super weird. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I did a mock draft that I sent you guys, where I went 3 running backs in a row, which is kind of wild, but then it kind of allows you to just stock up on wide receivers after that. And I would say that's the strategy, depending on how deep that 2nd tier of wide receivers is for you personally. Because like Mike Williams is in that tier for me. And I know that's not the case for everybody, but I'm saying that to say, if Mike Williams is in that tier for you, let's just see where he's going currently. He's going as wide receiver 26, 59 overall. Wow. So you can extend that tier all the way to there. Chris Godwin's going after him. I think he's in that tier. So,
and especially Godwin and Evans with Russell Gage out for the season. I mean, I don't think Russell Gage was exactly a threat to them. I'm not saying that. And Kate Otton's obviously still there, but like, that's not going to hurt them for sure.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And Baker's more than capable. People keep saying it like Baker Mayfield's going to throw the ball backwards every time. He's going to be more than fine to get Evans and Godwin fantasy production. Evans, speaking of him, is going as wide receiver 33. George Pickens, who we like, is wide receiver 34. So again, there's going to be names above those guys, I'm sure, that we don't like. We certainly disagree on. But like I say those names just to say like that 2nd tier can be very deep for some people that can go like 7 rounds. So if you do go 3 running backs to start, theoretically you could get 3-4 wide receivers from your second tier the rest of the way. And I feel like you could feel decent about that. I don't know. Someone should hit, right?
Well, it makes sense. If you're ranking guys high and you can get them, you're going to feel comfortable about it, especially if you load up on the 3 running backs. Like when I was doing the mock drafts before this, that seemed to be the one that I flocked to the most, I guess, was the 3 running back. And Zach, you're right. You can really kind of mix and match what receivers you want, because you can take 3, 4, 5 of them right in a row, given there's tight end and quarterback value lower on the board. So yeah, I'm totally with that. Yeah, like I just love the idea. You grab one guy, we grab another guy. Cool, I'm with it.
Well, it gives you tremendous flexibility too. I mean, even if one of your first 3 running backs tears an ACL week 1, heaven forbid, you still have 2 really good running backs sitting there. And that can carry a lot of teams no matter what your receivers are. And seeing that little pocket down there is still pretty productive, that's huge.
I completely agree. So we'll keep that in mind when we do our actual draft. Another small point to add with going 3 running backs in a row for just when I've done my mocks. Like, I feel like it has to be, if you're going a position that's not wide receiver there, I feel like it does have to be running back. We went Josh Allen in our Justin Jefferson mock draft, and it worked out because we had that top end wide receiver talent and, going down. Every time I've done Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts, whoever fell there, for whatever reason, my teams are just dog shit. Like, I really, really don't like it. So, like, you need to have the 3 elite wide receiver or running backs. I feel like you need to have a positional advantage if you do something that extreme. And Mark Andrews is not a positional advantage.
Yep.
The people in the back. So that's mindset there. We'll try to summarize it at the end before we jump straight into the mock draft. But so that's our strategy for that 2-3 turn. Coming back again, then it would be 47th and 50th overall. Again, 12-team leagues. That's for rounds 4 and 5. Looking at 44, let's just say, reading down, we got TJ Hawkinson, Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, Dameon Pierce, Miles Sanders, Jerry Jeudy, DJ Moore. So if we did end up going 3 running backs in a row, I feel like there's some decent wide receiver names there. If we ended up going 2 running backs and a wide receiver or something like that, I don't know how I feel about the running backs there. What's your guys' thoughts?
Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, I would agree. I like Dameon Pierce. I like Miles Sanders. But I think, and especially moving forward, their ADPs, at least I would assume, are going to rise a little bit. I'm not as high on Pierce and Sanders as other people. I think they're flex plays. Whereas compared to, if we can get a DeAndre Hopkins there, I think he has tremendous value. Jerry Jeudy, tremendous value. Christian Watson could. I just think the wide receivers here have a higher ceiling, where the running backs are the guys that are going to give you, 10 points a week, Kenyon Drake, Arizona stat lines, but, they'll never get you a ton of points there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. It kind of feels like you can kind of take a little bit of a risk here, especially if you kind of load up on the front end of the draft. So yeah, Trevor, I'm with you. I like the wide receivers a lot better here. Feels like a lot more guys who can get you, like you said, who can get you that 20, 25 points really on any given week, as opposed to a Dameon Pierce who's probably going to get you maybe 15 a game on a good week.
I agree. My question to you guys about some of these other positions, just to go back to the ones before, if we're trying to plan what we're doing, do you feel better about Devontae Smith, Chris Olave? I don't even remember another wide receiver there, but one of those types of guys, or DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy?
I feel the most comfortable with DeAndre Hopkins out of everyone we've named so far.
I think so too. And I just don't feel worse about like Terry McLaurin than those guys either. Like all of these guys, I feel like they're all, this specific tier is the same to me. Truly.
Yeah. Yep.
Like as close as when I do my overall rankings, those guys might be back to back to back to back to back. It's going to be tough. So I do kind of like that 3 running back strategy coming back here. If we do that, we probably have to go 2 wide receivers. We might be able to go Hopkins, McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy. What's our thoughts on DJ Moore? Do you value him under those guys? Or
I do.
around there too?
I value him under those guys.
Expand on that. Is it because of Fields? Or
it's Justin
Fields.
Fields.
Your thoughts? Fair enough.
It's Justin Fields.
And he is bad at football, would you say?
He's a bad thrower of the football.
Clip it. Everybody.
Yeah,
Bears fans, get him.
Clip it.
Yeah,
I'm defensive right now.
I agree. Justin Fields is not a good passer.
And plus, it's the fucking Bears. The Bears they've never been able to throw a football. Like, anytime any quarterback does anything somewhat good and then throws an interception, the media just absolutely destroys the quarterback, and they're out within the next 2 years. You know how many quarterbacks I've seen come through Chicago, and I'm only 25 years old.
Yeah. And on top of that, too, I mean, I don't think he's a very big option at tight end, but, I mean, Cole Kmet does take a lot of red zone opportunities, a lot more than I'd want from a guy who's wide receiver 1 on his team. So you add in less red zone targets and Justin Fields throwing to him, like, he seems like just not a great option there.
I would venture to guess that nobody's ever won a championship in fantasy with a Bears pass catcher in their starting lineup.
Not true. I hung on to Alshon Jeffrey too long because he's won me.
Did you start?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Brandon Marshall, maybe?
I had a lot of Brandon Marshall growing up. I'm more fond of the Dolphins' Brandon Marshall, though.
I like Jets' Brandon Marshall.
Also good. Remember Jets' Demaryius Thomas?
Yeah. You remember
That was
Jets?
short-lived.
Speaking of Bears, remember Jets' Matt Forte?
Oh, yeah.
I prefer Eagles'
another
Alshon, but
fair enough.
good work.
Stu, we have our Packer show after this, and I kind of like that. I like what you're saying there. I like what you're saying. No, I'm wait till we talk about Sean Clifford, because I watched it 3 times, and I mean, he's the best quarterback on the roster currently, and I'm not joking about that.
Oh man,
I'm very confident in that. But backing up, I haven't seen TJ Hawkinson actually fall to me in this pick. If he's there and you theoretically went 3 running backs, would you take TJ Hawkinson in a wide receiver, or are you still waiting for a later tight end?
I'm still waiting for a later tight end. Like, I'm like, in all my mock drafts and everything, I'm taking Dalton Schultz every single time. It still feels like too much disrespect for Dalton Schultz. So, I mean, if you think you have a shot at Dalton Schultz, I think you wait for Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, I'd agree too, because I got to make sure I have his stats right. But Hawkinson, like, he had some monster weeks last year. I'm not going to act like he didn't. He was also, like, really inconsistent in terms of, like, you know, whether he was an elite tight end 1 or just, like, the middle of the pack. Like, over the last, like, 8 weeks of the season, tight end 14, 6, 16, 9, 21, 14. Like, don't get me wrong, overall, it's great, but if I have to choose 50-50 shot, he's a top 10 tight end, or he's, you know, an outside tight end 2, like, I don't want to deal with that.
I will say he joined the Vikings in week 9. From week 9 through week 17, obviously week 18 was nothing. He had 6 or more targets every time. He had 8 or more targets in all but 2 of the games. I feel like it's mostly just because of his yardage that he didn't rank very high. I feel like he was pretty consistently great, though. Just in terms of like usage wise is all I'm saying, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know. I think he's a lock top 5 if he's healthy for me, but we'll see. So probably 2 wide receivers there. Do you guys think? Is what
I'm with 2 wide receivers there.
Okay. So that would be picks 47, 50. We'll finish our conversation here. We'll go 7 rounds, and then we will do our own live mock draft on Sleeper. But we're now talking the 6-7 turn. That's pick 71, 74 in PPR scoring. We'll start at 69. We got Alvin Kamara, Tyler Lockett, Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts, Javonte Williams, Deontay Johnson, Michael Pittman Jr., Isaiah Pacheco, Mike Evans, Deshaun Watson. So a lot of different positions there. Any guys stand out to you, Luke?
You reading those names off, what came to my mind, like I'm good for a quarterback here. Like I'm cool with Deshaun Watson here. I know I just went on that whole spiel of Dalton Schultz, but like Dallas Goedert sounds kind of appetizing here. And just, you guys know how big I am with good players who don't get drafted. Like Mike Evans, I'm good with here as well.
Those are three guys I was going to mention too. Tight end is tough. You can put that to bed right here. Quarterback, this is when he can start looking, and theoretically at this point you have probably 3 running backs and 3 wide receivers by now. I think this is a time when you can go up and grab that quarterback, tight end. You're not really losing out on much.
I agree, and I feel like this, out of all of the picks we've talked about so far, like no matter what your strategy is for picks 1, 2, 3, we went 3 running back, then we went 2 wide receivers. Like no matter what, I feel like this is a pick the best player section. And you could also fill a ton of needs super easily with these 2 picks, I think. So like even if you went heavy early in the draft, don't push the panic button to reach anywhere because there's really good players here still.
Yep.
That's my thoughts. Let's jump into an actual draft though, just to see how these play out.
Let's fucking do it.
Hey, we might as well just draft a winning team around Christian McCaffrey. What do you guys say?
I don't think that we would do anything else, to be honest.
True. So let's not miss here. Boom. Christian McCaffrey at 2. Again, PPR scoring. We are now using Sleeper's ADP. A lot of people have their leagues on Sleeper. So this may be more telling,
guys,
than the fantasy data.
We'll talk about him tomorrow, but I'm so in on Jamar Chase this year.
Really?
I'm so in on him.
Okay. I don't mind it.
I'll save it for tomorrow.
It seems like a weird draft. 3 quarterbacks already?
I mean,
this is usually where Hurts and Allen are going.
Yeah, they're going around like these 6 picks, I would say.
I guess Mahomes just threw me off in the first.
Yeah, it's a little early, but it's not impossible early, I would say. But the best player on the board is Josh Jacobs. What about Stoof?
Stoof wants us to take Tony Pollard.
Oof, I don't know, man.
Sorry, Stoof.
Stoof, give me a reason. No, not overruled. What's your opinion on Tony Pollard, other than just his name with an exclamation point? But Josh Jacobs obviously holding out right now. Who do you guys feel more confident about playing week 1? Just period. Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor?
Josh Jacobs.
Trevor?
I might go Jonathan Taylor.
I'm saying Josh Jacobs because he's not faking injuries.
Right.
That's fair.
I feel like there's no scenario Josh Jacobs is anywhere else.
Right.
Also, like I know that there's rumors apparently that the Chiefs are looking into him, which is the worst agent leak of all time because it's truly like, oh, you don't want your divisional opponent to get better when the Chiefs are definitely not checking.
No,
like,
not
they
at
don't
all.
care.
I don't think
a lot of Chiefs pay a running back
right
any position.
I don't think a lot of teams care.
No, I mean no, nobody cares whatsoever. But Stoof isn't answering. So if we do go running back here, I feel like it's between Jacobs or Pollard. Probably there's Stevenson. Oh, we could go Najee. We could reach.
Yeah, we talked about Najee a lot last show. So I'm with Najee.
We could go 3 though. Najee could be a 3rd if we wanted.
Yeah, I don't love him overall, but I like Pollard way more than Jacobs. I think Jacobs has to get hurt. I mean, they're going to run him into the broadside of a barn. At least Pollard, the offense is going to be good, and then maybe get Harris on the turn.
Is that what we're thinking then? The goal Pollard, then Najee?
Yep, that's cool.
Okay, let's.
Stoof got lucky.
Stoof did get lucky. Watch your mouth.
Who is the 3rd player drafted by Team 1 there? Andrews.
Yeah, I feel fine about that. So we did start Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Najee Harris. With that trio, like I feel good waiting at running back until 1 like just falls into our lap, slaps us in the face. Like we can't pass up on him. So we do have both Hawkinson and George Kittle on the top of the board, as well as DeAndre Hopkins. I feel like those three are all good and kind of surprising to see there, to be honest. We also got Terry McLaurin. We could do the Hopkins McLaurin thing that we talked about. Damian Pierce, DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, Drake London. What's your guys' thoughts?
I'm with Hopkins.
I'd agree, especially since team one is Mark Andrews. They're not taking Hawkinson or Kittle, even if that was a consideration. So,
agreed.
Excuse me, sorry.
Jesus. Okay. So you're right. Both tight ends are still on the board, Hawkinson and Kittle. So we could go either of them. Terry McLaurin's there if we want to do that.
Can I ask you guys a question? I'm sorry, Zach, to cut you off. Just to talk about. Can you scroll back to the top, please? To talk about Hawkinson and Kittle, do you guys like if it was only these two? Do you guys prefer one over the other?
I prefer Hawkinson.
I'd agree.
I agree too, but like if I was drafting, I'd probably draft Kittle just so I didn't have to root for Hawkinson. But yeah, okay, I'm with you. I'm with you guys.
I like them both quite a bit.
Yeah.
If we went tight end, what the projection is for the next pick, we're looking at a Marquise Brown, Christian Kirk, Mike Williams area for a wide receiver too.
I mean, I don't hate Christian Kirk for a wide receiver too.
Yeah, I think wait here, especially with some teams. I know Team 5 having 3 wide receivers, other teams having 2. I think some wide receivers could fall here. I think Hawkinson is nice to be able to pack away tight end.
Okay. Let's go Hawkinson, and we shall see what happens.
Good thing we went Hawkinson. He's going next pick.
Yes, he would have been. I feel like a lot of tight ends off the board. Holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
Not great day for Cam Akers, guys.
No. Okay. So top of our board, we got James Conner, Dalvin Cook, Tyler Lockett, Christian Kirk, Isaiah Pacheco, Mike Evans, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Pickens, Javonte Williams. We have 3 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end. Luke, what's your thought?
I said before, but but I'm with Christian Kirk.
I'm going to cater a little bit to Luke here. I'll meet him in the middle. I think you go Mike Evans here and take Pickens on the curve.
So my when we were going on the curve, I was going to say take Pickens on the curve.
That's fair. We're taking Pickens next pick, so.
Okay, so I'm fine with Mike Evans over Christian Kirk, to be honest. But we could go Kirk over Pickens. Do you guys prefer one or the other?
We can't do that. We're here to have fun. You got to take Pickens.
I think that Kirk is probably going to be the better receiver, but in real life, I would pick George Pickens. But don't take that as fantasy analysis. That's just because George Pickens is one of my favorite players ever.
If you get points for pancakes, take Pickens every day of the week.
I'm taking Christian Kirk here, honestly. Like as a real fantasy manager.
I can see that. I can agree with that.
But okay. But yeah, I mean the pick is Pickens.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Pickens.
What's the bye week difference?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Bye weeks are a sham. Yeah. Pickens is 6. Obviously, Najee's 6. You got 5 with.
I will say, I would have went Kirk and Pickens, but Evans and Pickens is cool.
7.6. What the fuck? Okay, sorry. My computer's reading aloud the draft board.
Oh.
Okay, we're good. We're all good.
Are we thinking Deshaun, guys?
We could go Deshaun. Tua is also right there. Then it's Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, Brian Robinson, Juju, Gabe Davis, Jamal Williams.
Yeah, I'm thinking Deshaun and Michael Thomas here, maybe.
Yeah, let's go Deshaun. Let's just see what happens.
I would consider Tua, except I loathe him.
Yep.
Yeah, he sucks at life, dude. I cannot take him. Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, Juju. Michael Thomas is probably the top wide receiver for me here.
What's our can I see what our lineups look like?
We have, for some reason, there's 2 flexes, but
that's right.
George Pickens, wide receiver 3, Najee, running back.
So we're good everywhere.
Yeah, we're pretty balanced right now. We
Yeah,
could take
Then
best of all of them.
I'm with Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I feel okay about it. He hasn't
Was
been looking outstanding.
was
but-
it? Oh, Jamal Williams. I thought it was Javante.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Javante went 2 rounds earlier.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But now we are obviously past the spot where we talked about before, but it's sort of best available the rest of the way since we have all the needs covered, I feel like.
Yeah.
Top of the board, Elijah Moore.
Oh.
We don't need a quarterback, so I'll talk about flexes. Jamison Williams, Adam Thielen, Damian Harris, Jacob Conquo, Rashad Bateman, Sky Moore, Elijah Mitchell.
Do you guys have any strong thoughts on Elijah Moore? Like, it feels like he's going to be used with the Browns. It feels like he should be somewhat good with Deshaun Watson, considering the Jets spent a second-round pick on him.
Yeah, I mean, he's the wide receiver too, in my opinion, and he's going to be used out of the backfield. So he'll be used quite a bit, but at the end of the day, like, he's still not the number 1 or 2 option, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, he's going to be you can't give him 20 touches.
Right.
Like, he's not like that type of player. But
fair. Seems like a Kadarius Toney kind of player.
True. Except I think I prefer Elijah Moore in fantasy to Kadarius Toney, to be honest.
I would agree.
So what's our thoughts? Do we want Elijah Moore? Do we want to deal with a Jamison Williams suspension and hope he's better afterwards? Are we a believer in Adam Thielen? Are we going a different position? I like going Elijah Mitchell for the second pick since we have Christian.
Yes, I agree. You kind of convinced me on Adam Thielen. You've been kind of riding the Adam Thielen train lately, Zach.
I just don't know how he's not the focal point.
Yeah.
Just looking around, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, the only difference I'd have compared to you guys, I'd want to shore up that I have the 49ers backfield. I'd go Elijah Moore, Mitchell first just in case, but I have no problem with Thielen and expecting Elijah Mitchell to fall 2 spots.
Cool. Let's do that. Boom. Defenses are coming off the board and kickers apparently in round 11.
Crazy.
Don't recommend it. Yeah. Not for me. Never a kicker. But we should have some pretty good players available, maybe a little bit inflated of what we will actually see in a real draft. But there's Tyler Algier there, Jacoby Myers, who's a Raider. Have to keep reminding myself of that.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd, Darnell Mooney, Rashee Rice, Laporta, Singletary, the newly signed Ezekiel Elliott. What's our thoughts?
My thoughts right off the bat. Can you scroll back up to that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're at the top. Okay. My thoughts were Tyler Algier right off the bat. I mean, he's coming off a 1,000-yard year. It's not like the guy can't play football, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like Zach, you've been talking high about Laporta. Like, this is a chance to get Laporta if you think he does anything this year.
True. Trevor?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any. This is where I start losing strong feelings. I like Algier as a player. Obviously, we're fine at wide receiver. I think it's the guy with the highest boom potential. I think that's Algier because, I mean, you don't hope for injuries, but if, Bijan goes down, I mean, that's RB1. So, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I agree with that. What I would do here, I would do Algier. We agree with that. And then our second pick here, I think I'm probably going running back to back again. For the exact same reasoning that you just said about Algier, I feel the same about Ezekiel Elliott, except for Elliott week to week is going to be the red zone guy anyway.
That's fair.
I think he's just Damian Harris.
I can see that.
Not as strong of feelings, but I have similar feelings about Devin Singletary.
Okay. Singletary's fair. He's going to have a week to week role too, I would assume.
I like Elliott more than Singletary, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Deontay Foreman's still here as well. Tank Bigsby has a big role.
Yeah, if I were ranking those guys, I'd go Elliott, Tank, and then Singletary. But I don't think you can go wrong with any of them.
Like, out of those three, who's going to finish with the more touchdowns? I mean, that's who I'm going to take, and it's going to be Elliott.
Yeah.
I agree. And the wide receivers in this area are just sort of one big tier for me as well.
Yeah, they're saying nothing. Like there's something, but same player.
Yeah. So just for that reason, like I don't feel the need to go there. So let's go, Zeke. So we have 2 picks left. We'll probably go a defense in 15, probably Denver. Are we thinking wide receiver next pick? Do we want another tight end? Do we want a quarterback? What's our thoughts?
I think that we should get a quarterback.
Okay.
How many wide receivers do we have right now? 5, 6?
2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can go quarterback here if you really want, or yeah, I mean, I think you can go anything here. But
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, it might be good to have a backup, but I also don't know if I'm sold by any of those quarterbacks either.
And I'll say, to be honest, I'm cool with going best available quarterback or best available tight end here, unless there's a flex that screams to you.
I kind of like Mingo though.
I do too. We'll just go through the best available. So best available quarterbacks looks to be Jordan Love, Kenny Pickett, Matthew Stafford, Mac Jones. Running backs is Roshan Johnson, Kareem Hunt possibly. That's about it there. Wide receivers, Jonathan Mingo, Jalen Hyatt, Nico Collins, Zay Jones, Justin Ross, DJ Chark, Tank Dell, Alec Pierce,
Marvin Mims.
Marvin Mims, people like that. And then tight end is Gerald Everett, Dawson Knox, Michael Mayer, a pretty lot here. Luke Musgrave, Jake Ferguson. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I don't love any of the quarterbacks there. Like, I mean, I don't hate Gerald Everett at all. I do hate Gerald Everett a lot, actually. I do, but it's kind of on that same path, like of, Keenan Allen goes down and Gerald Everett's back. Mike Williams goes down, Gerald Everett's back. Quentin Johnson goes down, Gerald Everett's back.
True.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. For me, it's tough because realistically, a lot of these guys aren't going to be drafted. I guess I'd lean Mingo just because of rookie, and I hate tight ends so much. I don't want to draft 2, but I can definitely see with the Chargers' injury concerns why Gerald Everett's a great pick.
I'll say,
you go ahead.
If Romeo Doubs is here, I would want him.
Fair enough. He went 1 pick right before us.
Yeah.
So this pick, no matter who it is probably the player we're dropping for a kicker prior to week 1. So I'm going to go Mingo just in case Adam Thielen goes down hurt. That way, then we would have the for sure focal point and vice versa. So we at least have that wrapped up. And then defense, we've talked about the Broncos being very talented and having an easy schedule to start.
Well,
Vegas,
hold on.
Washington.
Green Bay is going to be top 10, so take them. What the hell?
That's true. Yeah, people are really good at their jobs.
I would have taken Green Bay there.
I know.
Because, they play the Bears dog shit week 1 and then just dump the Packers defense.
Yeah.
The Broncos play the Raiders and the Commanders.
Yeah, but
Packers can't stop the run and the Bears aren't going to throw.
Yeah, they will. They're the Bears, Zach.
They almost beat the Packers last time when Fields ran for like 150 yards.
Yeah, but they only scored like 14 points.
Yeah, Packers only scored like 17.
Well, that's not my point. My point is that the defense did very well.
Yeah.
Because they had Aaron Rodgers on the field.
No, Rodgers is bad in that game.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is terrible.
That's not what I said at all.
I know. I know. So our team being drafted around Christian McCaffrey, top to bottom, we got Deshaun Watson, Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, George Pickens, TJ Hawkinson, Najee Harris at the flex. No kicker. Denver Broncos, Michael Thomas, Adam Thielen, Elijah Mitchell, Tyler Algier, Ezekiel Elliott, and Jonathan Mingo. I think I like the Justin Jefferson team we drafted more.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a solid team overall.
Yeah, this team, it gives me a little uneasy feelings. I don't know. Like you said, that Justin Jefferson team felt like a championship-winning team. I don't know if this feels like a championship-winning team. Like, do you guys feel like you're comfortable rolling into the? I guess that was the point of the show, is to make it a good team. So yes, I would feel comfortable rolling in, but you guys understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. My mindset is you got 3 wide receivers. You got Nuck, Evans, and Thomas. I think if just one of those guys can get back to their, well, if just Hopkins or Thomas can get back to their form where they have been or close to it, I think you're in the gold. You're in the green. But I think that does have me a little more uneasy than the Justin Jefferson one.
What it seems like we did, and I feel like it is kind of the strategy to take, depending on your risk level, I suppose. I feel like we went as safe as possible around Christian McCaffrey.
It kind of feels like you have to.
Yeah, it feels that way. It doesn't feel like there's very many mysteries on this team. I would say the only 2 to me are George Pickens and Jonathan Mingo. Like, I feel like I know the role and could probably get close to the stat line of every one of these players if I wanted to.
Well, and that's interesting. I think that kind of brings up the bigger conversation about, are you going Christian McCaffrey at the 2nd overall pick? If he's like, it kind of feels like you have to, but it might be, as maybe we're seeing here as the draft board shakes out, it might be a little easier to build around a receiver than a running back if you're getting one in the top 3 pick.
That's true. Just looking at the board, I know I don't have it on video right now. Like, I don't know if there's very many early picks that I regret. So like we could have gone Devontae Smith instead of Najee, but then our next running back probably would have been, if he ended up falling, Miles Sanders, if he fell one more spot. Otherwise, Dameon Pierce would be the RB3. And that's such a drop off.
Yeah.
Like that's a
You're
massive
right.
drop off. So I feel all right. Let us know what you guys thought of this team. What would you rate it 1 to 10? Let us know in the comments. If you're listening to the audio podcast, give the podcast 5 stars and let us know who your number 1 draft target is for fantasy this year, or just comment your favorite fantasy football team name for this year. Yeah. 5 stars only, though.
Hit play along and do your mock draft with Christian McCaffrey and put it in Facebook, our group, Fantasy Football by Committee on Facebook.
Yes.
I'm very interested because I think this can go a couple different ways.
Agreed. A lot of different ways. And I feel like that's the point of what we're doing to start here. Tomorrow, we will be doing the exact same thing for Jamar Chase. So maybe we will answer if it's better to go Jamar Chase at number 2, or if we can build a good team around a, top tier running back, which seems sketchy at the moment, but we will see tomorrow. If you are in the stream right now, just hanging out, just know we will be back in around 10 minutes for Lombardi Sweep, our Green Bay Packers show. Again, if you're listening to the audio version, go listen to that as well. We'll be reviewing week 1 of the preseason for the Packers, previewing week 2, and talking about a lot of players that could be fantasy football relevant as well. So we will be back in a second. Goodbye.